Change the words you say to yourself for 21 days, and you will begin to change the person you become. Your life is greatly influenced by one voice you hear more than any other voice in the world, your own. The quiet conversation you have with yourself every single day is shaping your confidence, your courage, and your future. Many people don't realize it, but the direction of a life often follows the direction of internal dialogue. If a person constantly tells himself, "I'm not good enough, can't do this, things never work out for me," then over time those words become beliefs, and those beliefs become behavior. Soon, that person begins to live exactly the life those words predicted. But the opposite is also true. When someone begins to speak to himself with strength, purpose, and belief, he begins to feel a sense of confidence and self-assurance. The mind starts building a new identity. For the next 21 days, make a decision to change the conversation you have with yourself. When you wake up in the morning, don't begin the day with doubt. Begin it with direction. Tell yourself, today I will grow. Today I will become stronger. Today I will move one step closer to the life I want. These words may feel simple, but repeated daily, they become powerful instructions to your mind. Every person carries on a constant conversation within their own mind. From the moment you wake up in the morning until you fall asleep at night, there is a voice quietly commenting on your life. It evaluates your decisions, reacts to challenges, interprets every situation you face. Most people underestimate how powerful this inner dialogue truly is, yet it becomes one of the strongest forces shaping their confidence, attitude, and direction in life. When a person repeatedly tells themselves that they are not capable, not smart enough, or not ready for success, those words slowly become accepted as truth. The mind does not easily separate repeated thoughts from reality. Over time, those thoughts influence emotions, and emotions begin to control behavior. A person who constantly doubts themselves will hesitate to take opportunities, avoid challenges, and settle for less than their true potential. But the opposite is equally powerful. When someone begins to speak to themselves with belief and encouragement, the mind starts responding differently. Words such as "I can improve," "I will find a way," or "this challenge will make me stronger" begin to reshape how the brain processes difficulties. Instead of seeing obstacles as threats, the mind starts seeing them as opportunities to grow. Self-talk acts like a set of instructions you give to your mind every day. If the instructions are negative, the mind follows them and creates a mindset of fear and limitation. If the instructions are empowering, the mind gradually builds confidence, determination, and resilience. This is why the most successful and disciplined individuals pay close attention to the words they repeat to themselves. The remarkable truth is that your life often moves in the direction of your dominant thoughts. When your inner voice becomes supportive rather than critical, your actions begin to change. You become more willing to try, more patient during setbacks, and more focused on long-term improvement. Understanding the power of self-talk is the first step toward personal transformation. Once a person becomes aware that their inner voice is shaping their future, they gain the ability to change it. And when that internal conversation begins to shift from doubt to belief, it can quietly open the door to a completely different life. Many people allow negative thoughts to run through their minds without ever questioning them. When something goes wrong, the mind quickly produces phrases like, "I always fail, this is too hard," or "nothing ever works out for me." At first, these thoughts may seem small and harmless, but when they are repeated day after day, they slowly shape how a person sees themselves and their abilities. Over time, negative self-talk becomes a habit, and that habit begins to limit confidence, motivation, and personal growth. The mind is constantly absorbing the words it hears the most, especially the ones that come from within. When a person repeatedly focuses on their weaknesses, mistakes, and fears, the mind begins to magnify those things. It starts searching for evidence to confirm those beliefs, which makes challenges feel heavier and success seem further away. This is why many people give up on goals. Not because they lack ability, but because their inner voice convinces them that success is impossible. The powerful shift begins when a person becomes aware of this pattern and decides to replace those thoughts with stronger, more empowering words. Instead of saying, "I can't handle this," they begin saying, "I will learn how to handle this." Instead of thinking, "I'm not good enough," they remind themselves, "I'm improving every day." These changes may seem simple, but they send a completely different message to the mind. Empowering words do not ignore reality or pretend that difficulties do not exist. Instead, they change how a person responds to those difficulties. When the mind hears encouragement instead of criticism, it begins to focus on solutions rather than problems. Confidence grows, determination becomes stronger, and a person becomes more willing to take action even when things feel uncertain. Over time, this practice builds a healthier relationship with oneself, the inner voice becomes supportive rather than discouraging. It becomes a source of motivation instead of doubt. When a person learns to replace negative thoughts with empowering ones, they are no longer controlled by fear or past mistakes. Instead, they begin guiding their own mindset toward progress, resilience, and a stronger belief in what they are capable of achieving. Real and lasting change rarely happens in a single moment. It happens through repetition. The human mind learns patterns the same way. A muscle develops strength through consistent practice over time. When a thought is repeated often enough, the brain begins to accept it as familiar and eventually as normal. This is why the idea of practicing positive self-talk for 21 days can be so powerful. It gives the mind enough time to begin forming a new mental habit. In the beginning, changing the way you speak to yourself may feel unnatural. If you have spent years criticizing yourself or focusing on what is wrong, suddenly choosing encouraging words might seem uncomfortable. Your mind may even resist it. But that resistance is simply the result of old mental habits trying to hold their place. The key is consistency. Each day you deliberately replace doubt with belief. You are slowly reshaping the mental patterns that guide your behavior. During the first few days, the changes may not be very noticeable. The mind is still adjusting to the new language you are introducing. But as the days pass, something begins to shift. The brain starts recognizing these encouraging thoughts more easily. Instead of automatically moving toward worry or self-criticism, it begins to pause and consider more constructive perspectives. By the second week, this practice starts influencing emotions and decisions. When a challenge appears, the mind is more prepared to respond with calmness rather than fear. Instead of immediately assuming failure, you begin looking for solutions and possibilities. This change in thinking affects how you approach your work, your goals, and your interactions with others. As the third week approaches, the new pattern begins to feel natural. Confidence becomes stronger because your mind is no longer working against you. Your thoughts start supporting your progress rather than limiting it. What once required effort now becomes a habit. The remarkable thing about mental habits is that once they are established, they continue shaping your behavior every day. After 21 days of consistent positive self-talk, many people begin to notice that they are thinking more clearly, acting more confidently, and facing challenges with greater determination. What began as a simple daily practice quietly becomes a powerful foundation for long-term growth and personal transformation. In the end, the words you repeat to yourself each day quietly shape the person you become. Your mind is always listening, always learning, and always responding to the messages you give it. When those messages are filled with doubt and criticism, they slowly build limits around your potential. But when those messages are filled with belief, encouragement, and purpose, they begin to open doors you once thought were closed. The practice of changing your self-talk is not about pretending life is easy or ignoring challenges. It is about choosing a stronger response to those challenges. It is about training your mind to focus on growth instead of fear, progress instead of perfection, and possibilities instead of limitations. If you commit to guiding your thoughts for just 21 days, you begin planting seeds of a new mindset. With each day of consistency, those seeds grow into confidence, discipline, and resilience. Eventually, the voice inside your mind becomes your greatest supporter rather than your harshest critic. And when that shift happens, something powerful begins to unfold. Your actions become bolder, your attitude becomes stronger, and your future begins to reflect the new belief you have built within yourself. Because the moment you change the way you speak to yourself, you begin changing the direction of your entire life.